Alien twins accidentally saw me naked, and then something happened. The station drifted between two quiet stars, its wide glass panels glowing with soft blue light. It was called Horizon Relay, a place built for meetings, research, and first contact. Humans had only been part of the wider galaxy for a few years, and every visit still felt new, careful, and tense. Elias Mercer floated down a narrow corridor, boots clicking lightly when the artificial gravity settled. He was not a soldier or a diplomat. He was a systems engineer, the kind of person who fixed things when alarms went off and everyone else panicked. Elias liked machines because they made sense. People and aliens were harder. He checked the time on his wrist display. His shift had ended an hour ago. The station required strict decontamination after external repairs, and he had just finished working on a damaged coolant ring. The airlock doors slid shut behind him as he entered the decontamination chamber. The chamber was round, clean, and quiet. A calm voice spoke in broken but understandable English. "Decontamination cycle required. Please remove outer garments." Elias sighed. He had done this dozens of times. He removed his work suit, gloves, and boots, placing them in the marked container. The chamber sealed. A fine mist filled the air, humming softly as it scanned and cleaned. What Elias did not know was that several systems on the station were undergoing updates at the same time. Across the station, two figures stood in a raised observation room. They were known as Terrell and Cyril, twins of the Lurin species. Their bodies were tall and thin, with smooth silver-gray skin and long, dark eyes that reflected light in strange patterns. Thin lines of faint blue light ran across their temples, signs of their shared neural bond. They were xenobiologists studying human behavior and biology. For their species, knowledge was shared instantly between bonded twins. Seeing was understanding. Observation was connection. A technician had asked them to monitor a human maintenance cycle to gather routine data. The twins agreed without concern. To them, observation carried no sense of privacy or shame. Their species had evolved without physical barriers or personal concealment. Everything was open always. When the feed activated, the twins were not prepared for what happened next. The visual filters that normally translated and softened alien images failed. The human decontamination chamber appeared directly, unmodified, and fully detailed. Elias stood in the center of the chamber, unaware he was being watched. For a human, it was an awkward moment of vulnerability. For the twins, it was something else entirely. Their minds reacted instantly. The Lurin brain did not separate physical form from identity. To them, an unshielded body was the same as an unshielded mind. The sudden, unfiltered exposure of a human form sent a shock through their neural link. Terrell staggered back, a sharp sound escaping his throat. Cyril grabbed the edge of the console as a flood of sensation tore through their shared consciousness. Thoughts, emotions, and instincts clashed in ways they had never experienced. Fear, confusion, individual awareness. The observation room alarms screamed. Both twins collapsed to the floor, their neural lights flaring wildly before dimming. Across the station, red warning lights activated. Doors sealed. Security drones hummed to life. In the decontamination chamber, Elias felt the lights change and the mist stop early. "That's not normal," he muttered. The chamber door opened before the cycle was complete. Two station security officers waited outside, one human, one alien. Their expressions were tense. "Elias Mercer," the human officer said carefully. "Please step out and come with us." "What's going on?" Elias asked, grabbing a clean station robe from the wall and wrapping it around himself. "There has been an incident," the alien officer replied. "You are not under arrest, but you are required for questioning." Elias followed them through silent corridors. Crew members watched from behind sealed doors. The station felt different now, like a place holding its breath. They brought him to a medical bay where several alien officials stood around a transparent medical pod. Inside lay the twins, unconscious, their neural lights flickering weakly. Elias stared. "What happened to them?" One of the officials turned, its voice calm but edged with tension. "They were observing you." "Observing me do what?" Elias asked. The official paused. "During your decontamination." Elias felt heat rush to his face. "You mean they saw me without—" "Yes," the official said, and the effect was severe. Another alien stepped forward, taller, wearing symbols of authority. "You exposed them to an unfiltered cognitive signal." "I didn't do anything," Elias said quickly. "I was just following procedure." The aliens exchanged glances, their gestures sharp and worried. "Humans consider physical exposure a private matter," the tall alien said slowly. "We were aware of this. We did not understand why." Elias looked at the unconscious twins again. "Are they going to be okay?" The medical scanners hummed. Data flowed across floating displays. "They are alive," a medic said, "but changed." "Changed how?" Elias asked. The medic hesitated. "Their neural bond has shifted. There are differences between them now." Elias did not fully understand, but the weight of the situation pressed down on him. He had come to fix a machine. Instead, he had broken something far more important. Hours passed. Elias sat alone in a quiet room, replaying everything in his mind. He felt embarrassed, guilty, and angry all at once. None of it felt fair. At last, the door opened. The twins were awake. They entered the room slowly, escorted by medics. Terrell and Cyril looked almost the same as before, but Elias sensed something different in the way they moved, the way they looked around. Their eyes focused on him. For the first time, they did not speak together. "You are Elias Mercer," Terrell said. "Yes," Elias replied carefully. Cyril tilted his head. "You are singular," Elias frowned. "I guess so, most humans are." The twins exchanged a look, not a shared thought, but an actual glance, like two separate people checking each other's reactions. "When we observed you," Cyril said, "we did not only see your form, we felt division, layers, barriers." Terrell continued, "Your species can separate body, thought, and intent. We cannot, or we could not." Elias swallowed. "I'm sorry, I didn't mean to hurt you." The twins studied him. There was no anger in their faces, only curiosity and something else Elias could not name. "You did not attack us," Terrell said. "You revealed something." "Something dangerous?" Elias asked. Cyril shook his head slowly. "Something powerful." Alarms echoed faintly through the station again, this time different, heavier. A station announcement followed. "All senior personnel report to the council chamber immediately." The twins turned toward the door. Before leaving, Terrell looked back at Elias. "Your privacy," he said, testing the word. "It is not weakness, it is strength." Elias sat back, heart pounding. He had never felt smaller or more important in his life, and whatever had truly happened in that chamber, Elias knew one thing for certain. The galaxy was about to change. The council chamber was larger than any room Elias had seen on the station. Its walls curved upward like the inside of a shell, covered in soft light that changed color as different species spoke. Humans, Lurin, and several other aliens stood or floated in their own sections, separated by fields that translated air, sound, and gravity. Elias stood at the human side, wearing a simple station uniform. His hands felt heavy at his sides. He kept thinking about the moment in the decontamination chamber, how small and ordinary it had felt. Now that same moment had brought him here. At the center of the chamber, Terrell and Cyril stood together. For the first time since anyone could remember, the twins were not perfectly still. They shifted their weight differently, their eyes moving on their own instead of in perfect sync. The Lurin Council leader stepped forward. Its voice echoed calmly, but there was tension under it. "The incident has been reviewed," the leader said. "The observation was accidental. The system failure is confirmed. The human is not at fault." Elias let out a slow breath he did not realize he was holding. "But the consequences," the leader continued, "cannot be ignored." A projection appeared in the air. Lines of light showed neural patterns branching and changing. "Before the incident," the leader said, "the twins shared a complete cognitive loop, no separation. No individual thought." The image shifted. Two patterns appeared, still connected but no longer identical. "Now," the leader said, "they possess partial individuality." A low murmur spread through the chamber. One alien delegate floated forward, its skin rippling with color. "This condition is unstable. It threatens Lurin's social unity." Another replied sharply, "Or it advances it, individual perception without losing connection." The room filled with debate. Elias glanced at the human ambassador, a calm woman with silver hair. She gave him a small nod as if to say, "Stay steady." At last, the council leader raised a hand and silence returned. "Terrell, Cyril," the leader said, "speak." The twins stepped forward. Terrell spoke first. His voice was steady but thoughtful. "We experienced separation." Fear followed, then clarity. Cyril continued, not overlapping him. "We now understand choice." Gasps echoed through the Lurin section. "Choice," the leader repeated. "Yes," Cyril said. "Before we acted as one because we could not imagine acting otherwise." Terrell looked around the chamber. The human exposure did not harm us. It revealed a limit we did not know existed. The leader turned slowly toward Elias. Explain, it said. How does your species endure such exposure without collapse? Elias swallowed. He had never expected to explain humanity to the galaxy. We grow up with boundaries, he said carefully. Physical ones, mental ones. We learn that not everything is shared, and that's okay. It's how we stay ourselves. A delegate asked, does this not cause conflict? Elias nodded. All the time, but it also lets us choose trust. When we share, it means something. The chamber grew quiet. Another projection appeared, showing records from other species. Patterns of control systems, perception networks, compliance fields. The human ambassador stepped forward now. Many galactic systems rely on direct perception, emotional pressure, mental alignment. Her voice was calm but firm. Humans don't work that way. A ripple of unease spread. A sharp voice cut in from the far side. That makes them dangerous. Elias felt his chest tighten. Or resilient, the ambassador replied. We can stand inside influence and still decide who we are. The Luran leader studied Elias again. Your privacy protects you. Yes, Elias said. It doesn't isolate us. It gives us space. Terrell looked at Cyril, then back at the council. Our bond still exists, but now it is chosen, not forced. Cyril added softly, we are still twins, but we are also selves. The chamber filled with silence, heavier than before. Suddenly, alarms flared again. This time they were external. A security officer rushed forward. Incoming transmission, Coalition fleet. They are demanding access to the station. The name alone caused unrest. The Coalition was known for using perception-based control to bring worlds into alignment. They have learned of the incident, the officer continued. They want the human. All eyes turned to Elias. The human ambassador did not hesitate. Denied. A new projection appeared, showing alien ships gathering at the edge of the system. They believe humans are immune to their methods, the officer said. They want to test that. Fear crept through the chamber, but it did not stay long. The Luran leader straightened. Then they will learn. The station prepared for lockdown. Defensive systems powered up, but everyone knew weapons alone would not stop a coalition that fought with minds instead of guns. Elias was escorted to a protected chamber with the twins. The room was simple, quiet, and shielded. They will try to reach you, Terrell said. Mentally. They already are, Cyril added. We can feel it. Elias sat on the floor, back against the wall. I don't know how to fight that. You already are, Cyril said. The pressure came like a distant weight, a whisper at the edge of thought. Images pushed gently, trying to guide, to align, to smooth away resistance. Elias closed his eyes. He thought of home. Of messy rooms, closed doors, private thoughts no one else could touch unless he let them. He thought of choosing who he was every day. The pressure pushed harder and stopped. The coalition signal fractured, unable to find purchase. Across the station, systems stabilized. The attacking influence collapsed into noise. The twins gasped. It failed, Terrell said in disbelief. Not because of strength, Cyril said, but because of separation. The council chamber filled again, this time with awe. The coalition fleet withdrew, confused and shaken. Hours later, the station lights returned to normal. The crisis had passed. In the council chamber, the Luran leader spoke once more. Humanity will be reclassified, it announced. Not as vulnerable newcomers, but as cognitive equals. The chamber echoed with agreement. A new doctrine was recorded, translated across systems. Privacy is not isolation. Choice is not weakness. A mind that can close can also open freely. Elias stood quietly as history shifted around him. Later, as he prepared to return to Earth, Terrell and Cyril walked with him to the docking bay. You changed us, Terrell said. Elias shook his head. I think you were ready to change. Cyril smiled, a small, careful expression. Perhaps, but you showed us the door. The shuttle doors closed. As the ship pulled away, Elias looked back at the station, still glowing between the stars. He was still just an engineer. But the galaxy would never look at humanity the same way again. The shuttle moved away from the station, its engines quiet and steady. Elias sat alone in the small cabin, hands resting on his knees. Stars passed slowly outside the window, calm and distant. The galaxy felt different now, even though it looked the same. When Elias reached Earth, nothing felt grand at first. The spaceport was busy and loud, filled with workers, travelers, and screens flashing news. People rushed past him without knowing who he was or what had happened. He liked that. For a moment, he was just another person coming home. That did not last long. Within days, Elias was called to speak with researchers, officials, and educators. They did not treat him like a hero. They treated him like a witness, someone who had seen something important and lived through it. He told the same story again and again about the station, the twins, privacy, choice. Each time, the listeners asked different questions, but the meaning stayed the same. Humanity had something the galaxy needed, not because humans were stronger or smarter, but because they had learned to live with walls inside their minds. Far away on the Horizon Relay Station, Terrell and Cyril stood in a quiet observation room. The place had been redesigned since the incident. New systems, stronger filters, clear consent protocols. The twins worked side by side, but not as before. Terrell focused on one data stream. Cyril studied another. Sometimes they shared thoughts, sometimes they did not. The choice felt strange and wonderful. Our people are afraid, Cyril said softly. Yes, Terrell replied. So am I. Fear is not the same as rejection, Cyril said. Terrell nodded. Humans understand that. The Lurin homeworld was changing, slowly, carefully. Small groups were allowed to experience limited individuality, guided by those like the twins who had already crossed that line. Some embraced it, some resisted. The galaxy watched. Other species began asking questions too. They reviewed their own systems, their own methods of control and unity. Some welcomed the idea of mental privacy. Others feared it deeply. Not all reactions were peaceful. On the edge of known space, the coalition met in secret. Their leaders were shaken. Their methods had failed against humans, and worse, their influence over others was weakening. A quiet decision was made. If humans could not be controlled, they would be tested. A coalition envoy arrived at Earth months later. The ship was massive, dark, and silent as it entered orbit. There were no weapons visible, no threats spoken, just a request. They wanted a meeting. Elias was not supposed to attend. He was not a leader, not a diplomat. But the humans remembered what had happened before. And so Elias found himself sitting at a long table in a bright room, facing beings who looked at him like a puzzle they could not solve. The coalition speaker leaned forward. Your species is inefficient, it said. Divided. Emotional, slow. Elias listened quietly. Yet you resist alignment, the speaker continued. Explain why. Elias thought for a moment. Because alignment without choice isn't unity, it's silence. The room stayed quiet. You believe privacy is essential, the speaker said. Yes, Elias replied. Not to hide, but to decide. The coalition beings exchanged signals Elias could not read. And if others choose differently? One asked. Elias nodded. That's allowed too. The meeting ended without agreement, but something had shifted. Back on the Lurin world, Terrell watched news of the meeting. Cyril stood beside him. They are uncertain, Cyril said. Yes, Terrell replied. Uncertainty spreads. Months passed. Human teachers began working with other species, not to change them, but to explain how mental boundaries worked. Simple ideas, doors, windows, locks that could open. Some learned quickly, others slowly. Conflict still happened, it always would, but control began to weaken. Elias returned to his old job. He fixed machines again, coolant rings, power grids, simple things. He liked the quiet work. Sometimes he received messages from the twins, short ones, questions, thoughts, not shared automatically, sent by choice. One day, Elias stood outside under an open sky, looking at clouds instead of stars. He thought about how small everything felt now and how big. Humanity had not conquered the galaxy. They had not ruled it. They had simply shown it another way to exist. And that, Elias realized, might be the most human thing of all. The years after the first contact crisis passed quietly on the surface, but underneath, the galaxy kept changing. Elias grew older in small, normal ways. His hair showed a few gray strands. His hands carried the marks of long hours repairing machines. He never stopped being an engineer, and he never tried to become more than that. Still, his name appeared in places he never visited, in classrooms on distant worlds. In research notes written in languages he could not read. He did not mind. What mattered to him was that people were learning to choose. On the Horizon Relay Station, the twins continued their work. Terrell specialized in systems that protected mental boundaries. Cyril focused on communication, helping species speak without forcing understanding. They worked together often, but always by agreement. Their bond had changed into something stronger because it could be refused. One quiet cycle, Terrell paused while reviewing data. "We have a problem," he said. Cyril looked up. "A problem or a fear?" "Both," Terrell replied. Reports from the outer regions showed instability. Worlds once held together by forced unity were struggling, some adapted, some fractured. The coalition had lost control, but in losing it, they had left gaps behind. Freedom, it turned out, required learning. The Lurin Council called an emergency gathering. Humans were invited, not as observers, but as partners. Elias was asked to attend again. He did not want to, but he understood why. When he arrived, the station felt familiar, less tense, more alive. The council chamber filled slowly. Species that once would not have shared space now stood together, uneasy but present. The council leader spoke. "We removed control before teaching stability. Some worlds are suffering." Elias listened carefully. "We need help," the leader continued. "Not command, guidance." A delegate from a fragile alliance floated forward. "Our people feel alone for the first time. They do not know how to exist as individuals." Elias stood. His voice was calm. "Being alone and being independent aren't the same thing. Humans struggled with that too." "How did you survive it?" the delegate asked. Elias thought of Earth, of history full of mistakes and learning. "By building trust slowly, by failing, by forgiving." Not everyone liked that answer. Some wanted rules, systems, guarantees, but guarantees had been the problem. The council agreed on a new approach. Not a single doctrine, but shared tools. Education exchanges, mental health support, cultural patience. It would take generations. No one pretended otherwise. After the meeting, Elias walked through a quiet corridor. Terrell and Cyril joined him. "You are tired," Cyril said. "So are you," Elias replied with a small smile. Terrell stopped near a window. Stars drifted past. "We once believed unity was perfection." "And now?" Elias asked. "Now we believe growth is," Terrell said. On Earth, children learned about the wider galaxy as something real, not distant. They learned that humans were not special because they were stronger, but because they were practiced at living with difference. Some children asked if aliens were dangerous. Teachers answered honestly, "Sometimes just like us." Elias returned home for good after that visit. He declined further invitations. Others had learned enough to speak for themselves. Years later, a message arrived from Cyril, just one line. "We made a choice today." Elias smiled and sent back a reply. "So did I." He went outside that evening and looked up at the sky. The stars were still far away, still unknown, but they no longer felt unreachable. Humanity had not saved the galaxy. They had joined it, and that was enough.